Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Secretary. Thanks for being back. I guess this is your last time through for this purpose, for the budget.
You can have me come back if you want. I'm happy to keep coming back.
I'm referring to the annual ritual, but you've been in a hot seat a number of times. I thank you for your service, as much as I disagree with you on many things. But I did want to follow up on one thing I think you just said that I actually think is dangerous and I worry about, and that is suggesting that long-term Treasury yields are somehow anything we could take any comfort from, and that we should infer from a sub 2% 10-year, which I think is very abnormal and in fact probably suggests that there's something deeply wrong. When a 10-year Treasury has a yield that's lower than the rate of inflation, negative real interest rates that far out the curve are deeply disturbing to me. I would also point out that it's even more dangerous since we have chosen to shorten the average life of our borrowings, increasing our risk of refinancing. Okay, well then that's been my understanding. And the last thing I would just say on this topic is, for an extended period of time, Italy could borrow money at about the same rate that Germany could, routinely. And then one day they couldn't. And I'm convinced that we're on a path to go through a similar type of experience. The problem is we don't know when, and we don't know how severe, but it could happen at any moment. So I take no comfort from the fact that we have. By the way, I think you could also make at least the argument that a Federal Reserve that keeps interest rates at zero, thereby allows people to have a carry trade on longer dated securities, promises that they'll keep rates at zero for an extended period of time, and then goes out and buys huge quantities of Treasuries. All of these things could very well be contributing to these very strange, very low rates, and so we really shouldn't draw any comforting conclusions from them.
I don't draw too much comfort. I agree with you on much of what you said, so let me just clarify one thing. First of all, we are gradually extending the maturity of our debt. It's significantly
You did shorten it, though, over...
But only in the crisis for reasons that you understand better than most people. But since then, we've been successful in gradually extending maturity, which makes sense and is prudent. You're also right to say that the current interest rates reflect lots of different factors.
Right.
What I was just trying to say, and you're right that we should not live here with the expectation the market would look past inertia on the fiscal front for a long period of time. I don't share that view. I agree with that. That would concern me. People take too much comfort from that. What I was just saying is that you can't see today in those rates evidence of concern that this country does not have the ability to deal with these problems and come to it. And most people expect us as a country to do what we've done in the past, which is to look past our political differences and come together and fix
And I certainly hope we will do that. I'm simply suggesting that what you choose not to see in the current rate structure shouldn't be a source of comfort because of so many other things.
Yeah, and I don't take too much comfort in it. I really don't. But I'm just saying is you can't find evidence of the opposite,
right.
Which is acute concern today.
I understand. You have on several occasions pointed out that you, in this budget, proposed $350 billion in reductions in Medicare and Medicaid. You pointed out correctly that that is from the projected levels of spending. It's not actual cuts, but from projected levels. But I think it's very important. First of all, about 300 of that, I think, is on the Medicare side, of which about 90% of that is just further ratcheting down reimbursements to the people who provide health care. A small portion of it is means testing, but most of it is provider cuts. And all of those proposed cuts are reflected in the numbers that you then project, which still grow, Medicare and Medicaid, at an average rate of about 7.3% per year over the 10-year period. Your GDP number is about 5%. The CBO is about 4.7. The blue chip guys are lower than you guys are. So my point is that even your relatively optimistic growth numbers are easily eclipsed by a significant margin by the growth in these programs. And that's why I believe that the President is failing us by not laying out a specific plan that makes these programs sustainable. As I think you will acknowledge, it is not possible for these programs to continue growing at a rate greater than our economy, and yet that's exactly what this budget proposes. I think that's a failure in leadership to provide the concrete plan that's an alternative.
Well, as you know, I have a different view, and I don't claim, we're not claiming too much for this in the sense that our view is that the combination of the Affordable Care Act reforms, which CBO scores as substantially reducing the out-year deficits, combined with these additional modest savings in Medicare and Medicaid, help restore or move these programs to a more sustainable path, but they don't solve it. I totally agree with you on that context. But I think our difference is a bigger difference than that. Our difference is how we do it. And our concern with the approach that your side has embraced is that we think you put too much of the burden in cuts on middle-class beneficiaries. And the reason why you do that is not because you want to do it, I don't think. It's because you do it because you were, so far, been unwilling to contemplate a modest amount of additional revenues as part of the plan.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. No, I don't think that's a fair characterization at all. We disagree about how we go forward with reform. My own view is that the only way we're going to solve this problem is to change the architecture of the plan. And if we continue to go with an open-ended fee-for-service plan, we will never get the dynamics right, we'll never get the incentives right, we'll never get the market forces bringing competition and price, some way of price controls. I believe that can be done without in any way jeopardizing an important safety net for people who really need it. But I'm going to make another point if I could. Page 7 of your testimony, you talk about how businesses ought to compete based on the products and services they provide, not the tax breaks that they can collect. I couldn't agree more with that. But when I look through this budget, we find case after case where this budget proposes the creation of new preferences, new tax credits, new subsidies. We are asking taxpayers now to spend not $7,500 for every Chevy Volt someone buys, but $10,000. You have a new 18% deduction for companies that can get themselves classified as advanced technology. You create a Homestar rebate for energy-efficient retrofits, but that are not economically efficient. And the list goes on and on and on. Yet you suggest that, you know, it's better for companies to compete on products and services, not tax credits and special favors. You know, I think that it runs contrary to Americans' understanding of fairness when you guys decide that certain industries and certain businesses within industries are going to get special favors, and I think it impedes economic growth, and I'd like your comments.
Again, you may find us more in agreement on this than you fear, and we'll have a chance to talk about this in the coming weeks. We're going to lay out in the next couple of weeks a broad framework for proposals for corporate tax reform. And you're going to see in that context that we think it would be a better system for the country for us to eliminate dozens and dozens of the special preferences in the corporate tax code today, which are one reason why the rate is so high. We are going to make the case in that context, though, for as we eliminate those, preserving and reforming a much narrower targeted set of measures that will focus on a much more specific set of objectives, generally within the context of encouraging investment in the United States. I agree with you that if you look at our corporate tax system today, you know, some industries pay very, very low effective tax rates. Others pay much closer to the average, and that's not a sensible way to try to run an economy. That's really inefficient. It's deeply unfair. Those that enjoy the very low effective tax rates are doing so just because other people are paying higher tax rates, and it would be good for us if we can find a way to clean that up.
Senator